Boom, and we are live. Welcome everyone to Forging Theories live stream. Today I have Harry, Fabian, and a newcomer, Isaac. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on.
Hey man, all right. This is going to be my little icebreaker, right? The
Okay.
three of us kind of know each other. We're talking MCU, we're talking DC. Give me your favorite Marvel character and your favorite DC character.
Favorite Marvel and DC. Marvel for me, it's I don't know. Probably
Putting
say
it
Iron Man.
nice.
For Marvel, and then DC, definitely Batman. But uh, another character I've been liking a lot more lately, as you can see. Well, it's not on camera. Is Darkseid.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that might be a topic of discussion as we get a little bit later on in the live stream. For all of you watching, we do this pretty much every Sunday night. Just get together and chat about really what happened in the week of Marvel and now DC. We have something crazy coming down the pipeline, hopefully here, which we'll get to. I will throw out a spoiler warning. There is potential
hmm
spoilers when it comes to DC. So we're going to start with Marvel. We're going to start with She-Hulk. Series just ended. We just had episode 9 finale. But we'll be talking about that. I will give another spoiler warning, or hopefully at least one of us will throw it out there as a reminder. But we do have Black Adam coming in less than a week. I believe next Friday or Thursday, depending on where you're
hmm
at. So that'll be fun. That'll be exciting. But I do want to kick it off. We have been talking She-Hulk. It has been one of the most controversial things that I can really think of in Marvel
hmm
in recent memory, at least. So, Fabian,
Yes, sir.
how did you feel about the She-Hulk finale?
Um, I hope whoever's listening doesn't crucify me for this, but I liked it. um, I I felt like it embodied a lot of the spirit of her comic character almost completely. She came around full circle. That is how She-Hulk is in the comics, and she finally got to display that. Now, as far as the story was telling, I think she came around full circle and finally was able to break the fourth wall that drastically because she's finally okay with being She-Hulk and being Jen, and she tossed away her insecurities and finally took charge of her show. I do, however, understand for a lot of people why that seemed like so out of left field, because I feel like they underutilized her fourth wall breaks almost the entire show. So when she
hmm
finally went from the little ones just talking to the camera to straight up just going to the Disney Plus streaming logo or the main menu, why that just seemed like a complete 180, 360, topsy turvy, out of this world fourth wall break. I mean, that exceeded almost anything that Deadpool did besides like the final montage in Deadpool 2.
hmm
Can we call that a fifth wall break?
That's like four times four,
Yeah, yeah.
that's like so many different fourth wall breaks. But I mean, overall, I completely understand like people's criticisms. Like, I know Elias has been with us, and Harry haven't been like the biggest fans of the show, and I think that's valid. I think
Sure.
that everything they brought up, that's not a show for them, that's completely valid. And I think that's how the MCU is going to be going forward, and I really appreciate that. Even though there's an audience divide in a lot of the medium that they've been doing for Phase 4, Marvel's sticking to their guns. They're
Yeah.
not doing what the previous leadership in Warner Brothers would have done and just rebooted their universe after one hiccup.
Yeah.
To that point, where's that this is kind of one of the biggest things that I've been thinking about personally is, you have a portion of the fandom, and Isaac, I'd be very curious to see your thoughts on
Yeah.
it, because I don't know your opinion, right? I've read a lot of things, but it's kind of nice to obviously get everyone live. But you have a portion of the Marvel fandom who this isn't for them, and some this is for them, but at the same time, like for me, that's kind of a good thing, because you can kind of keep moving forward with this, and hopefully someone's always going to like the content that comes out. But if it's the same old, in my opinion, eventually that runs stale. And I do believe that was an issue with Warner Brothers and the events that kind of led up to Justice League, like every tone felt the same. I know Zack Snyder has a certain style, and this isn't a full comparison. I don't mean that. I'm just saying to this point, once Phase 4 hit, things started to change, but I think that was necessary to keep things fresh. Think about it. If we got the same stuff post-COVID, lockdown, WandaVision was the first thing we saw.
Yeah.
And, that was new. It was different. However, they still made it very MCU. At the end, you had the big boss battle between Agatha and Wanda, and the power-ups and the CGI and the lights and everything. You didn't get any of that for the most part in She-Hulk. Like, it was just like smash effects and move on. But Isaac, I'm curious, what did you think of She-Hulk?
I honestly didn't have many expectations going into it. Like, I would say I knew, like, of She-Hulk. I kind of knew her story in the comics and everything. But going in, I didn't have really many expectations, so I didn't have any hopes or any, like, wants or needs while watching it. So kind of like watching it week by week, I was kind of like surprised more so. But it's kind of like I was telling Harrison too throughout the week, is with how the show was going week by week and the story that they were building up. I would never guess the ending that they ended with during the finale.
Yeah.
Like, I would never guess that she would have broken the fourth wall that much. Like, there's some, like, groups that I follow, like between Instagram and Twitter, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're getting Red Hulk, we're getting this, we're getting that," and it's like we got none of that. And yeah, so I really liked it. I liked how they brought back Daredevil, and they kind of didn't, like, overuse him or underuse him either. I kind of liked the amount of him that we got in this before we get him in, like, Echo and his show and anything else that we possibly see him in. Yeah, I'd say I was more so pleased with everything that we got.
Yeah, because I think we can all say safely that was the highest rated episode in She-Hulk. I think I had on IMDb it was a 7.8 out of 10, whereas the lowest ranked episode was 4.6. And then again, you have now listen, disclaimer, I'm not someone who gauges the success of a show based on a score that we get off the internet. That's not me. But I think it is interesting to notice that there is such a gap between some of the biggest core rating sites, and you do get the sense that a lot of people didn't like it. But in terms of Daredevil, do you guys associate the success of any She-Hulk episodes because Daredevil was supposed to be in it from the very beginning? Like, that was the big tease. Harry, did you find that the Daredevil draw is what really kept this show afloat?
Maybe not in the beginning of the season, but as the season started to get more towards the end and people started to think, okay, where's Daredevil? And, and people started to think, okay, he's got to be in this one. And then, finally it's like, okay, where is Daredevil? And then finally, I think it was right before the 7th episode, or episode 7 or 8. I think it was episode 8. They released a video montage of that fight scene between him and She-Hulk, and Daredevil was going all Tom Holland on, She-Hulk, and they released that before the episode. So that was basically confirming that Daredevil was going to be in the next episode. So I wouldn't contribute all of She-Hulk's fame to Daredevil, but I do think that I'll say this: there was a lot of cameos in that show, and that's all I'll say.
Interesting. It opened up for everyone. But is the cameo piece hurting the Disney Plus shows, or is it helping? Because when I sit back and I look at this, and I was thinking about this as I was looking at all the TV shows in Disney Plus, the expectation is that it is a cohesive universe. I would expect that we do see characters cross over to a certain extent. However, a cameo versus a crossover event feels very different for me. If it's a crossover event, I'm expecting someone to do something bigger alongside of the main character throughout multiple episodes. But cameo is they're going to pop in and add something to the story and propel the plot forward, but do they need to be clear on cameos and crossovers? I know Secret Invasion is supposed to be a crossover event, is what they're kind of marketing as, but do they need to put some more like clearly defined lines on how much, I guess, outside intervention we get from other characters?
I think so. I think the cameos there was so many cameos. I mean, we had Hulk, we had Wong, we had Abomination, and then we had Daredevil. I think sometimes the
Don't forget
cameos
Madison.
kind of outshined the actual show.
Mm.
And I think if people it was a distraction from the actual story. Maybe that was the point. Because it was a controversial show, and maybe Marvel knew that. And like me and Lou have talked about this. Marvel's not dumb, so maybe they put that in for a reason.
Yeah, a lot of it felt purposeful. Fabian, what do you got?
No, I was just joking. I was saying Madison was a great cameo with a Y. I was hoping they were going to bring it back one more time. Just a little scene,
Yeah,
little bonus scene. For some reason, I was a little surprised that she became like a I don't want to say a fan favorite, but like people seem to really like her in the show. It was really random for me that kind of just took off on the internet, but
I liked her. I personally enjoyed it. I thought it was funny, and
I thought
thought
it was funny too. I just didn't think it was going to become a thing.
Right. That even the very next day, everything was like two or what, two N's and a Y, but not where you think. Like you saw that all over the place, We do have another edition, Mr. Jalapeno. Can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Fellas, I'm on the way home from Six Flags. I got to hop on, you know what I'm saying?
Hey, that's what it's all about, man. I know you have your thoughts about She-Hulk. Fill us in. Give us the overall feel from your perspective. Because again, everyone has a perspective. We're all fans here. We all can have it. But what are some things that were some hits? What were some misses?
I mean, not to really bash on it, but like Harry was saying, the cameos, bro. I think the cameos is what really propelled it forward. I think the cameos were my most enjoyment aspect of the show, which, for better or worse or intended or not, I don't know as a Marvel fan if that's a good thing coming out of, She-Hulk. Like, if I'm excited to watch Daredevil more than I'm excited to watch the main character of the show, I don't know personally if that's a good thing or not. However, those interactions were some of my favorites.
I got it. I have to throw this out. Let's say we have 9 shows. Let's just call it 10. Let's add Werewolf by Night. Would She-Hulk slot in that top half tier for you guys, or would it slot in kind of that bottom half tier in terms of enjoyment? And I will throw this out there. I think personally it is extremely hard to give Phase 4 a score for a lot of different reasons. One being the bias from Phases 1, 2, 3 in the Infinity Saga and comparing to all those things, but at the same time understanding how different a lot of these shows are going to be. Like it is difficult to take a criteria and just slap it on Phase 4 and just be like, okay, does it fit here? Like it is very much square hole, round peg kind of scenario, in my opinion. But from an enjoyment aspect, I can sit here and say through 9 episodes, 2 months, I really enjoyed it. But is it my top half or is it like the bottom half? For me, it's more in my top half. It is more in my top half. I really, really enjoyed the show on a week-to-week basis.
For me, I gotta disagree. It's in my now. There's a disclaimer. It is in my bottom half because of I think if there was a little less of the fourth wall breaks, especially from the last episode. I mean, that was that wasn't even a fourth wall break. Like we were saying, that was like a 16 wall break. I mean, and spoiler alert, but she basically rewrote her whole show. And that, to be honest with you guys, that just really that didn't sit well with me. So, but I did love the Kevin robot. That was a good nod to
That was funny.
Kevin Feige. So that was it is in my bottom half though for those reasons.
I put it right in the middle, and I probably enjoyed it more than most. But if I'm being completely honest, the show still has its flaws,
Sure.
and it kind of just doesn't tie together as nicely as a lot of the other ones. And I think most of that has to do with the runtime of each episode. I feel like, by the time it's over, I like barely got enough time with Jen, and I like Jen. I like the portrayal of Jen and She-Hulk. I thought that she did a fantastic job portraying her, and I really can't wait to see her interact with more people, and maybe on their front, like where she kind of has to tag along with them, and maybe she's not the forefront of the story. Um, but also the opposite. I want to see her interact with more people. But yeah, overall, I think it's just right in the middle, which is fine. And I think the real tough thing about this is that it's so different. And you put it perfectly. You're trying to fit the cube into the circle slot. Like, if I'm trying to compare this, like it's basically a sitcom to like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which is like a war drama, like post Endgame content, is very much in line with the stuff that we've already gotten before. You got a super heavy action set piece versus basically a gag show. It's tough to compare the two. It's like I'm trying to compare The Office to like Born Identity. Like, what? How am I gonna? How do you even begin to like be like, oh yeah, I really like the Office way more than I like the Mission Impossible movie, the first Mission Impossible, something like that. Like it's a tough fit, and I think it's just going to get even tougher as we get more projects.
100%. I mean, you see some of the bigger shows, like you have a WandaVision, 350 total minutes, 9 episodes, average length 38.8 minutes, right? Nothing is even close. I think the closest one we were looking at, What If, was probably the most episodic feel, and the run times were a little bit smaller and closer to what we got with She-Hulk. But at the same time, did this feel, Elias, you have you brought up a very good point. It's something that I've tried to chew on for weeks. And this is, we know it's not necessarily filler, right? It is a part of the universe. However, it feels filler. Did you guys get that feel? And Elias, I'll kick it to you first. What made it feel filler to you? And is there anything else in Phase 4 from the TV show standpoint that could have potentially felt that way?
That's a good question. I think me, the filler part of it is kind of goes hand in hand with like the lack of seriousness. Like, I know you've said it many times. You handed me over 101 articles to read about, the direction that the writers and directors wanted to go. But I think at the end of the day, when it comes to a superhero show or something in the superhero genre, there needs to be some kind of level of seriousness to separate it apart from just a regular our lives. The issues that she went through were very realistic and relatable to current people in like real life, and I totally understand that connection. And I kudos to them for that, and kind of going down that angle. But the filler portions, like I said, with the Meg Thee Stallion storyline, Mr. Immortal, and Donnie Blaze, at the end of it all, what did that do to really progress the story? I mean, most of them really didn't connect episode to episode, and at the end of it, Jen / She-Hulk basically said, like, this is my story, I'm gonna write my ending, and completely disregard, I don't know about completely, but she disregarded most of the plot that was set up previously. You know.
Yeah, no, 100%. And you get that from me. If I were to say I had any criticisms or critiques or a filler feel, one, I was okay with the finale, but the fact of like, I wish they would have kept that storyline of like, oh, Todd took my blood, there's potential someone's going to turn. Like, those are all the things that we thought. And to Isaac, to your point, you were saying earlier, you look at any of these groups, you go back to our past live, like we were all theorizing like Red Hulk is coming, is Titania going to get the power, is Todd is the one who turns, like, but there was always that thought in the back of my mind that if that does happen and we do get a big Hulk battle, like it's going to feel out of place. And I think seeing the episode, I would have really felt that it was out of place personally. But I will say one thing, and if we are going to say this is superhero, right? I get not every character needs to smash and bash. I don't think that every character does, and I don't think every character has in the source material. But I think they could have potentially showcased that side of things and kind of satisfied what fans were looking for through Abomination.
Yeah.
And in having Abomination, whether it was a budget thing or whatever, they made those jokes a bunch. Using him and kind of pushing that 2008 crew forward a little bit, I think that would have taken a next step if we would have seen something a little more with him and Wong. I don't know how you guys feel about the Wong Abomination storyline, but to me, it just seems like they're just showing it to us just to show it. But like, what is to come of it?
I agree. And real quick to add one more thing. I think for the finale, I don't really think I really expected to have a She-Hulk versus Hulk Todd battle. I would have been just okay if Hulk Todd would have delivered, or just if Todd delivered the serum with her blood to the leader of the intelligentsia, like the actual leader, or just like some other faction, or like what if he delivered it to Val from the Thunderbolts or something. Like, I didn't need a battle per se. I just needed the weight of a battle to come or something like that. So
Yeah, that's fair.
that's my 2 cents.
So I'll open that up. What do you guys think of just the future implications that this show built? What did it add, or I guess what are some leftover questions, some loose ends?
Well, I was really hoping that we would get some sort of implication of the leader, because we obviously know that the leader will be in Captain America 4. So I was really, really hoping, and he would have fit right in to that. If he would have been the high leader, no pun intended, of the intelligentsia, he would have been the perfect fit for that. So I just wish that they would have put him in there, but for whatever reason, Marvel knows best. And I just, but I did want to go a little off of Elias's point. There were so many times that I kept saying, there were so many situations in episode 9 that should have happened like in the middle of the season, and then she could have gotten like a redemption arc that she could have came back from. Yeah, I mean, that speaks for itself. So, I mean, but they wanted to do a redemption arc in after that 15 minutes. So they had no build to that. So that was one of the things, small, minute things that just kind of didn't sit well with me. But yeah, then there's that.
They should have really hit like you were saying. They really should have done the redemption arc thing and started that at least mid-season. If they wanted to be bold, they could have really reworked the whole lawyer job thing and made it happen episode 3 real early on. And then you could have had a whole arc and given some weight to her character bouncing back and trying to really find that balance between Jen and She-Hulk. There's a lot of ways that we could like talk about all day about like how we could have improved the show to make it more
Yeah.
more story structure based, like just a full push on narrative to really give like what we've gotten in the MCU thus far. But I think they were just trying to make something that, I don't know, like I don't really want to keep using the word filler, but I mean that's kind of where it's at, because I mean we treat the MCU like it's this big, massive, long, ongoing TV show. Like
Mm-hmm.
overall, like each
Mm-hmm.
movie is another episode. Each TV show, a season of a TV show is just one big episode to the next part of the expanding the MCU, and it's just getting too big for its britches a little bit. And sometimes you just gotta slow things down, I guess, and you got a little fluff here and you got a gag, and that's what they stuck with. And I mean, I appreciate that they stuck to their guns, I guess.
Yeah, I mean that definitely could be good going forward. Do you think it would be worth it to start building like pockets within the MCU? Does it seem like they're leading that way? Like Avengers that are in New York stay in New York and they handle a New York threat. The ones that are on the West Coast are the part of the West Coast Avengers or whatever it might be, or Great Lakes Avengers. And then you have your international, like everyone else is over here in London. They're going to handle the European threat that happens.
There's actually a whole comic story where each state gets their own little Avengers team, and that would be something fun that I feel like She-Hulk could deal with the legality issues of, because there's a lot of oddballs to those teams. Like that's where Mr. Immortal comes from. His team is one of the most ridiculous of all the 50 states. There are a lot of rip-off characters in there, but maybe that's where She-Hulk slots in. She gets to deal with the aftermath and the junk of the MCU that we don't get to see on a normal basis because it's not big, high stakes. And it's just fun and funny to see.
Yeah, I would definitely be down for something like that personally, because again, for me, more is more. We are in unprecedented territory. No one else is doing what the MCU is doing, unless you're looking from like a book standpoint. Obviously, we know comic books, American comics, and then you have your manga and the adaptations that happen in anime. And even there, though, you have a lot of great stories. I'm a big anime fan, but the one thing that they lack is just the scale of movies. I'm not saying quality, but just scale, where like, I don't know what, Fabian, like 300-400 million, not even, is like, oh, that was huge.
In what, like just
from an anime movie standpoint, like hundreds of millions of dollars is a really big deal.
Oh yeah.
Like we're not talking billions yet. Like Marvel Studios is on $1 billion scale, where if something doesn't hit it, cough cough, Sony, then they're just going to be like, oh, we failed. Well, let's back to the drawing board. We only did 900 million. Sorry, guys. Like that is. So for me, and Fabian, you brought this point up, and I want to talk about this, somewhat shifting away from She-Hulk, but let's stay on the topic of MCU before we get to DC. Again, anyone who is watching, potential DC spoilers coming up. We got in between episode 8 and 9 of She-Hulk, the Werewolf by Night special presentation. Huge hit, really big deal. Tons of people loved it. I mean, rave reviews. I'm looking here. We're looking at 90s. We're looking 9.4. We're looking at top tier. And it was just good. It was solid. It was good. People loved it. But there's potential rumors coming up of the X-Men. And that is a huge topic where we don't know necessarily how the X-Men team, the suited up team, is going to enter, right? We know we have the Avengers, we know we have the Thunderbolts coming up, but Phase 7, the rumor is mutants and the X-Men, right? We have Kamala Khan, Namor. We're starting to get that. They've been here. Now,
Deadpool event soon.
Right, and yes, Deadpool, Logan, like we're having those. So Isaac, I'll throw it to you. How would you like to see these characters, or what if these characters were introduced one by one as a 50 to 60 minute special presentation on Disney Plus?
I'd kind of like it if they did it right. Like I feel like it would take too long, honestly, to do like each X-Men like individually in an episode. Maybe like have one like here and there with maybe like 2 or 3 go and take care of something, and then you get their backstory throughout that episode, or still give it like the 6-episode format, but maybe do like a set number of X-Men per episode. Because like we've seen 2 versions of them on screen by now, and plus we know the comics, cartoons, all that stuff. So we've gotten like the origin already if you've watched all that media. But kind of for people that haven't, you can give like a quick recap in like a 6 to 9 episode format, with doing maybe Cyclops, Gambit, and Rogue get this episode, and Beast and Professor X get this episode, and just something like that. And maybe even make them like an hour instead of like the half hour that we've been getting like with all these shows. Because that's one thing I told Harrison with She-Hulk. It's like I enjoyed it, but I just wish it was longer. Like sometimes it works for the half hour, but like especially some shows, I feel like an hour per episode would have definitely helped it.
No, 100%. I felt the same way. I felt the absolute same way about She-Hulk, especially when they left us on cliffhangers, and then to know that it kind of got wiped away. I mean, did I feel a little cheated? Maybe. But getting these big stories introduced, I mean, if we were to take She-Hulk, substitute each episode, make it a special presentation on that Thursday while still running in, congruently with a Wednesday show if they go back to that day.
Yeah.
I mean, we could go from, I don't have the roster offhand, but we could double or triple the roster, no problem. Does it grow too much? Is there, I guess, too many characters for a cinematic universe?
I don't know.
Never.
Because kind of like going back to what you guys said about like having them like all over the country, all over the world, even like you have like the Midnight Suns in Europe, you have like a Avengers in New York, San Francisco, Florida, New York, like anywhere. Because now with more and more characters that we're getting, we're seeing them all over the place. Like we know Daredevil's in Hell's Kitchen, and then She-Hulk's in, I can't remember where in California. And then what else? What am I thinking? Moon Knight, how they're filming season 2 in Cairo.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, now we're going to see that part of the MCU too. Our Eternals exploring different parts of the MCU. I could definitely see them, like once they get like too big, kind of expanding it to like smaller groups of heroes in different parts of the world.
Interesting. I just, but if we do get these characters, there's that fine line, right? That we saw. I think She-Hulk poses that question for everyone moving forward.
Yeah.
If we know the character from source material to be a character who, let's say, isn't the most physical character, does that warrant them being a main character? Or in this sense, we have a physical character who really didn't show much physicality throughout the show for the most part, right? Like, where is that line, I guess?
Yeah. I don't know.
Because I think that's the question moving forward, is if they're going to keep stepping out of the box and making all these characters interesting in these stories, attempting to make these stories interesting for a lot of people, where does that line kind of get drawn in the sand again, or does it keep getting redrawn?
Yeah.
I think it's going to keep getting redrawn over and over. I mean, you can't please everybody. You're going to continue to divide the fan base, but like at the same time, you're giving certain people what they want, and then other people just. I feel like it. I keep saying it, but like it's going to get so big that you don't have to watch everything. You can get a recap. You can see it. Whoever watched it can tell you, hey, the only real important part that is going to come into play later is episode 9. Just check that out. You don't have to like it, but it's information, and that information will get you to understand this next part of this movie. Oh, this reference in that movie that like took 2 seconds, that referenced episode 2 of She-Hulk. Just go watch episode 2 of She-Hulk. If it didn't seem like it was your type of content, you're eventually gonna have to pass. I mean, even going back and marathoning the universe. It used to be a doable thing. You do it in a day, 2 days. Now it's 3. Now it's 4. Now it's gonna get to a month. It's gonna be like as long as One Piece, the anime. we're gonna be going all the way to 2040. I'm gonna be 50 years old, and it's gonna be impossible. And like, it's just gonna be a lot of content, and you're gonna have to pick and choose your battles.
Mm-hmm.
Do we think that they'll end up doing like specials of like recaps for the phases and characters or storylines?
Yeah. I think of that at like episode ones. Like I could see them for like
Yeah.
Daredevil Born Again being like, okay, if you didn't watch She-Hulk and Echo, here's what he did in these two shows, leading into episode one, so you know where he's been in the MCU. So you're not going into Daredevil Born Again expecting like a season 4, even though they've said that's what's not going to be.
Right.
Yeah, I could see him doing something like that, like episode 1 or before they introduce somebody, just being like, okay, if you haven't watched, here's their story so far.
Who did you guys see as a cameo in Phase 4? Speaking of Daredevil, that surprised you? It's a curious question. A surprise cameo in the MCU, and what did it do for you guys? I'm curious from each of you who you pick.
Okay.
I'm throwing this out there now. I did not think that Wong was going to be featured in so many projects. Like, he is Phase 4. He is the new Agent Coulson, and I'm very scared he's going to die.
I thought in Multiverse of Madness he was kicking the bucket, but
he needs a grander stage, and there's going to be witnesses, and it's going to trigger the whole new band, bringing the band together. Like, I feel like that's why they have him popping up everywhere, because they need someone lovable and determined, and he is going to be that sacrifice that really makes that connection. But that's the only reason I could see why they're bringing him back so much. He is in. I didn't even think he would be in She-Hulk. Like, I've never thought that would be the case.
That's a good point on Wong.
Yeah.
I mean, they make the jokes about it. It's the Wongerverse or whatever after Madison came up in Wongers, but Kang might be coming for him. Maybe
he's the center of the universe. I mean, he is an important character now because the Sorcerer Supreme, and he would potentially pose a major threat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, he was obviously not afraid to step up to Scarlet Witch at all. So to see him someone's knocking on the front door, I feel like Wong's going to answer, be like, what's up? Let's go.
Mm-hmm.
Harry, who do you got? Oh, my bad, Fabian.
No, I was just going to say, I love him. Don't get me wrong. I'll take him in every project we ever get, but I was not expecting that.
Yeah. Here, who's your cameo?
I don't think anybody expected Mahershala Ali in Eternals.
That's where he would pop up?
No, the post-credit scene. Right, I don't think anybody expected that.
I definitely didn't.
Mm-mm.
I wish we saw him, though. I just wish we saw him in his outfit. Like, full costume, just laced up. Give me some fangs. And, like,
I want to know if he's going to be, like, super tatted. Like, I feel like that's like a defining thing for him.
I would think so. About his face. His face got to be on point.
His what?
His hairline. That fade. His barber's got to be on point, bro.
Yeah.
Nah, bro, we're gonna give him that scar receding hairline.
Which we're going to circle back around to. We're going to circle back around it. Isaac, who is your surprise cameo?
Mine was Black Bolt, honestly. I remember going into Multiverse of Madness, and when we knew we were getting the Illuminati, I was like, okay, there's no way we're getting Black Bolt like in live action, because Marvel's kind of tried to like step away from the Inhumans, and it surprised me when they were introducing the Illuminati, and we saw him, and it was the same actor as Black Bolt, because I wasn't expecting that. But then that also kind of opens the door too to now the Inhumans, because it's like, are they stepping away from that? Are they gonna try and bring them in? Or...
That was originally supposed to be a movie.
Mm-hmm.
Phase 3.
Yeah,
that's the only one that I feel like they they've shown their misstep on where they announced it and then they took it back. That,
Yeah.
as far as I can remember, that's the only one where they realized that maybe people aren't ready for this.
Yeah, that is that I can think of the only. I mean, they've had some name changes, but not an announcement pullback like that. I mean, at this point, might not get Blade, boys. We might not get Blade. There's lots of issues going on with that. Elias,
Yeah.
Mr. Jalapeno, who do you got?
Bro, don't break my heart with Blade. But for me, I think my surprise cameo was honestly Hercules. Like, it was something that I thought it fit and I expected it, but the biggest question I have is kind of like where they're going to go with that character moving forward. And, for all the lack of love that I have for She-Hulk, I think She-Hulk versus Hercules would be pretty decent. Especially because he seems kind of like that misogynistic kind of, the man's man kind of guy.
Yeah.
And she could definitely put him in his place, like a good fight between them. I think that'd be wild.
I would be down for that.
I would be too, and I don't even like Hercules like that.
Yeah. Listen, I'm gonna give you guys a negative appearance, and I will forever I go back and forth on this show simply because of this. This is, I'm gonna say Kingpin. I remember going back and watching all Kingpin scenes in Daredevil before he showed up, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like Hawkeye's done. Like, this is it. This is where they write him off. Kingpin's the one that does it. And this guy shows up in a Hawaiian shirt and a hat, and I'm just like, last time I saw you, you were fixing like bloody cuffs in your shirt with your nice suit. Like, I don't know. That the Kingpin one for me was a surprise, just from the standpoint of, I know it's not as bad as I'm making it seem, but I just thought that he would be more of like a shadow boss versus actually stepping into the show and kind of mixing it up and doing his thing. But another surprise that we got, Scar, the end of She-Hulk. It is like the joke with the hairline. The show overshadows it a little bit. I'm not seeing it as much as I expected to. And I think it was a little bit anticlimactic, slightly. How did you guys feel? We knew that it was going to happen. We figured, why else would you go? If he came back with anything less than his son, we probably would have been like, well, okay, this is awful. But how did you guys feel about that? And where do you see him fitting in the future of the MCU?
Let me jump in quick because I think I gotta hop off the phone.
Sure.
My phone's about to die, but I actually really enjoyed that cameo. That was actually like one of my favorite parts of the finale. I didn't mind the fourth wall break too much. It was just really like how she closed it out the episode. But when he showed up, and I don't expect him to look like the Savage Scar from the comics right away. Obviously, he's still like a young boy. I think he's gonna evolutionize into that kind of character. But I was dope. I thought it was dope. Like, I think they can definitely lay the groundwork for, Young Avengers or like World War Hulk, where maybe Scar might have to be the one who defeats his father or something like that. Like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of different storylines that they could use when introducing that character, and I was pretty hyped for that. So.
I think if they give us World War Hulk, Scar's gonna have to die, or at least look like he died, to bring out the Hulk that gets angry, the actual Hulk, not Bruce Banner, but the Hulk. And they could be something that as simple as like, oh, there's still some people that really don't like the Hulks, and he kind of just rages, and something happens. Maybe it's some unassuming stronger person, or the military just takes him out. He's weaker than an actual Hulk, and they just assume he's as strong as a real Hulk, and they overuse their force, and they take him out, and that that sets the stage for a World War Hulk movie. Yeah. Will they give us that? Who knows? Who knows? I don't know.
I definitely find it interesting though that we're starting to get all this Hulk stuff either the year of or the year before all Universal's film rights expire for Hulk
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, they're scooping those up quick and throwing it out
Oh, yeah.
there. Like it's kind of like they just threw up Hulk all over us, and they're just like, take it.
They should have
Take
bought
it.
them years ago.
Yeah.
Interesting point. We'll hop back on to Harry. I definitely want your thought on Isaac on this, but we have Hulk, who didn't get much of his story, obviously, to his own. He didn't get Disney Plus, didn't get his own movie beyond 2008, which, yeah, I call it MCU, but most of the people kind of just put it on the outside, right? We have She-Hulk now, who got his proper origin, if you want to call it that. We know this character, and then we get the introduction of Scar, who's brand new and young, and obviously there's room to grow here. But did they do a disservice to Hulk by not trying to get him sooner and get him his own solo movie or second movie?
I 100% say yes. But they are a business, and the Hulk movies just weren't money. They were not wide box office success between the two, and they weren't critically successful. And even fans, even though they go back and praise the 2008 one for some weird reason, I've been an apologist for that movie for years. Since the moment I left the theater, I thought that movie was awesome. I put it up there as a good movie in phase one, but it mathematically didn't make sense for them to buy the rights from Universal. And it sucks to say, but like especially for Bruce Banner and that whole story, the entire reason you go to the theater to see a Hulk movie is the Hulk. And Bruce Banner's entire journey, usually in most of his stories, is trying to get rid of the thing that you go to the theater to see. So his purpose is to try and cure himself of the Hulk. And we want the Hulk. We need him. We don't care about you, Banner. We like you, but we really want to see the Hulk rage and do his thing.
Yeah.
And for me, like the relationship between them is what we need. But that's a whole other conversation. But yeah, they should have, for my greediness of wanting a full-fledged, more well-told Hulk story, but business-wise, they didn't really need to. As long as he showed up in other people's projects, he was good enough.
Yeah, I completely agree. But what makes me the most curious is how are they going to do it? Because Bruce has had a cap on Hulk for years now. So what is going to set Hulk off? And I would love to have a story that Hulk overcomes Banner. It's like, okay, let me out. And it's not where Banner's like, okay, I need to take the I need you to come out. I would love for Hulk to come out on his own.
How
So,
slow of a burn? How slow of a burn with that would you take? Because the next movie you don't want like we can throw it out there from a Bray Wyatt standpoint. Like that let me out teaser, we're dropping that. Like that is a slow burn, but it's building and building and building, and then you finally get him ripping out, and you're just like, holy crap! Like what?
I would like some. No, just to add to that idea, I would like to see like scenes of him like struggling, like having like night sweats and like nightmares and issues where he's keeping it from other people. He's not sure what it is, and then eventually it comes to fruition where he starts finally talking to the mirror, and in the mirror is the Hulk. It kind of like the same thing as like the Green Goblin, Norman Osborn situation in Spider-Man.
Okay, so I had a theory. I saw something on Facebook that now take this with a grain of salt, but for my theory's sake, let's just pretend like it's fact. I would so this article said that they're going to come out with a She-Hulk season 2. I would love to see Bruce and the Hulk battle back and forth all during that season, but you never see the Hulk. Never. And then in the next thing you see Hulk in, you see Hulk.
because then you literally feel stuff because you're sending things that quickly affect the context. I just think
Wait, I don't know if it was just me. Did anyone else hear Harry, or did you cut out? Was it just me?
there was a mic issue.
Yeah, at the end there.
What didn't you guys hear?
At the last minute.
It sounded like muffled, like you said, like Hulk, is Hulk or something like that.
Yeah.
I could barely make it out.
Yeah. After you start talking about how he's gonna have that struggle, but we don't see the Hulk side, it kind of like cut out.
So basically, what I was saying is, basically, we don't see Hulk until World War Hulk, and then but when we do see him in that movie, it's raging Hulk, like the Hulk we saw in Age of Ultron. Like it's not the raging Hulk, but the friendlier Hulk. It's the meaner Hulk that Iron Man had to take down. So that I would like to see that. And then it would be really cool to see Scar be the She-Hulk, and maybe Scar be the one to take him down.
I agree with that. I'd like to see that rage, but I'd also like a little bit, like, you know how he was in Ragnarok, where he was just like, he kind of just was himself. Like, he was a big dumb oaf, but like, it'd be really cool if he was pissed off with a purpose. Like, he had his composure and he can go into that rage, like tip into that rage mode and has it, sure, but like where he's still talking and he's telling you exactly why he is angry, and he shows you why he's angry. It's kind of like in the same aspect of like what's scarier, something with if Batman starts smiling or if Spider-Man stops talking and joking. A Hulk that isn't just like completely rageful, but you can tell is still pissed off to no end, is extremely frightening, because that is a rage that you know where to point it at.
I think it would be pretty cool to build on all those things if they do it kind of Civil War style, to where you get the heroes. Okay, hear me out. Hear me out. Just from the standpoint of like, I would like to see him face off against like another Thor versus Hulk battle. Like I like that fight that they had on the helicarrier. Like that was cool. But I also know that he'd most likely crush every single person he comes across if he's just like completely unleashed. So for me, I would like to see maybe across a couple. I mean, this is where I feel like the MCU has an opportunity to let other characters fill you in on things as they happen. For, let's just say, like a Yelena or the Thunderbolts to be like, hey, a post-credit scene, they're just like, we've noticed something shifting in Bruce. We've noticed a change, or there's events that are happening. They're happening so quickly and so destructively. Like, who's doing it? And then we see footage that it's Hulk. And then they cut to Bruce and they're like, Bruce, did you do this? And he's like, what are you talking about? Like, no, there's no way. Almost like a Moon Knight Blackout kind of piece, but like that instability. But I just think it would be cool to have, like, yes, we have that World War Hulk scenario, and they may, maybe that's where we lose Wong. Maybe he's the one that does it or something along those lines. But I think it'd be super cool to see him face a bunch of characters, but to go full rage, and then we get an entrance of an OP kind of character, or like a Sentry or Hyperion or someone who comes in and they're just like, I've been watching you, I want to stop you. I don't know. I just feel like they're missing something like that right now in the MCU. But then again, we have Kang. So it's like, where does a World War Hulk movie fit in, taking assets from the old Avengers team or Thunderbolts team or new allies, and then you have Kang? It just doesn't, like, I can't make sense of that.
I think, like you were saying, it could serve the same purpose that Civil War did and divide them. Yeah, I mean, they're already divided, but if they come together, like all the different units, and kind of snuff out any hope for them to actually come together before Kang's arrival, kind of similar to Civil War and before Thanos showed up. I mean, they've gone on to say that the only reason that they lost in Infinity War is because they divided in Civil War. So, united they're strong, but divided they will be conquered.
Can we see a Thunderbolts team taking down a raging Hulk?
Not that lineup.
Yeah, not that.
Well, I was hear me out. I was getting ready to say maybe in addition of that cameoed Scar, because obviously they couldn't tease him at D23 because that would be a huge spoiler.
Now,
That's a good one.
think about it though. I mean, could a potential, I mean, it's a little bit of a soft storyline, but thinking of them trying to brainwash and weaponize a young Hulk, and maybe if they do end up going through with this Harrison Ford recasting of Thunderbolt Ross, like the government tries to corrupt and make Scar their frontline weapon to protect them against another Thanos level,
Or his own
character.
dad.
But yeah, but like, is that something that could send him into a rage? And that's kind of, I don't know what they would use to do that, but
I mean, I'm sure the leader's got something up his sleeve,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
like just like really strong hypnotism or something.
I'm hoping in the end that it's the leader that is calling the shots, and Sharon Carter and Val are the ones, and it's essentially the leader who's pointing and shooting the Thunderbolts team.
That'd be cool.
Do you think that the leader could also be the what's it called? Oh, the power broker?
No, I don't know about you guys, but I almost feel like the power broker thing is kind of done.
Yeah, do you think?
Yeah, I think once she got pardoned and all that kind of good stuff, she was, I mean, yeah, she still has her connections, but I think there was someone bigger at play that might have been leading to. I don't know. Maybe. I think it's a connections to her being a power broker, and she was like, yeah, I'm inside the government now, for whoever that is, but
Peace.
yeah.
Like power brokers are like kind of like a mantle kind of thing.
Could be.
Like, yeah,
That'd be
like
kind of cool.
Like person to person, maybe.
That wouldn't.
Yeah. A random thought, because we talked about the Thunderbolts, that current Thunderbolts lineup versus the Hulk. It's basically a bunch of super soldiers versus the Hulk, which they're just going to get washed if that's the case. But regardless, if you guys ever seen that Ultimate Avengers movie with the back in the day, which is what they based a lot of the MCU startup on, the Avengers movie, we never got a scene where like Captain America has to like hold off the Hulk. So I don't know if they're just saying like they're into two completely different leagues, but think of how cool that would have been of like Cap holding his own and like hitting those pressure points, and Hulk getting like pissed off because he can't catch this dude that's just jumping all over him and hitting him in all his like in his weak points, just for like 10 seconds of a scene. That's something that I wish we would have gotten. And then obviously to solidify it, Cap could have gotten hit and thrown into a wall or something. But
that point there is why I loved the ending of Eternals, because all those characters went on showcase against Icarus, who was by far head and shoulders like the guy in that entire movie, and they were all pissed off enough that they were just like, enough, and they just went at him. We know how the movie ends, but something to that degree is, in my mind, that role of Cap doing that to Hulk is how I picture Taskmaster playing her role if they were to do a Hulk thing. That's the kind of character that I would want Taskmaster to be.
That whole fight scene at the end of that movie is underrated. I'm like, I don't care how people feel about the movie, but that was raw as hell to see like all those different types of powers going at basically a Superman.
Yeah.
Like that's kind of like what what a Justice League action should look like.
We will talk about this in momentarily. But I always said
spoilers.
I always said the Eternals movie. I remember sitting in the theater, hitting to my right. Babe, this is the DC version or the Marvel version of a DC movie right here. And like that just takes me all the way back. I felt that way. But before we move into DC, what other thoughts do you guys have? She-Hulk finale, special presentations, anything to add to what we have done here before we switch roles?
I think we touched touched on it the last video. I think moving forward after January of next year, we are going to get a completely different genre of movies. Because as of late, we've gotten comedy, we've gotten more of drama, we've gotten, like Thor: Love and Thunder, She-Hulk, but after that, we're going to get good, strong hitters as far as like drama, action, stuff like that.
Well,
so I think from here
yeah,
on, go ahead, Fabian.
That was Isaac.
Well, as I say, we know that like Wakanda Forever is definitely going to be heavy.
Yes.
Moon Knight season 2, whenever we get that, that's probably going to be a little bit darker too. Werewolf by Night, for example, that was a little bit more, not really darker, but like they weren't afraid to show like the brittleness or stuff like that.
And we're getting out of the COVID shows where resources are, well, depends on what reports you're talking to or who you're listening to, but we're getting closer to, they're learning more about fan expectations. They're getting more comfortable stepping outside of the box. Obviously, money is money with them, but we're going to be getting shows that are going to feel grand. And I think we're going to see the next step before we get out of this saga. But speaking of next steps and spoilers. If you are watching this and you do not want to hear about Black Adam and that post-credit scene, spoilers, put us on mute and continue to watch. But I have to admit, I was hyped for the Black Adam movie. I was really excited. I went and got the Funko Pops as soon as I can get them. And
I'm still trying to find Dr. Fate.
Which is ridiculous to find, by the way. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yes, there's one Walmart that is close to me where someone who lives near me is like, hey, they had one. I was like, did you get it? And they're like, no, they had it. And I was like, okay, well, I can't get it. And they're like, it's gone. But Black Adam, peaks and valleys of this. But one thing has stayed true. The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, the people's champ, said from day one, I want a certain character, spoilers. We're going to get a certain character, spoilers. And guess what? We got a certain spoiler character, spoilers. So, Harry, I'm going to let you take the wheel on this one. I know you're very, very excited.
Excited is a word for sure. And spoilers, one last time, spoilers.
If anybody's still not muted.
Man. But yeah, I'm very excited. And as you guys know, I obviously the post-credit scene leaked, and do I just say what happened in the post-credit scene?
I think now this could be a group decision. Do we want to talk about it? Because I think it will play into the feel of the movie. That's up to you guys.
I don't have to. I don't have to. Let's just say the gist of.
Did you watch the scene? Did you find the leaked footage?
Yes.
Did everyone see it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I did. Let's just do what happened. The biggest thing that happened in the scene. So obviously, like MCU Lou said, Dwayne Johnson went out and said, hey, we wanted to get a certain individual, and that certain individual he got, and that certain individual is Mr. Superman, and they delivered, yeah, I'm super excited, and not only is it Superman, it's Henry Cavill's Superman, and I am so stoked.
Biggest part,
yeah, and if it was Tyler from Superman and
Tyler Hoechlin.
Yeah, if it was him, I was gonna no. But one thing that I was talking to Isaac about is it was kind of a Debbie Downer. Yes, I'm very excited for Henry Cavill as Superman, but I was talking to Isaac, like I said, And obviously the Zack Snyder's Justice League isn't canon, because I think he would have been in the black suit if that Zack Snyder's Justice League was canon.
Well, even that too,
So-
he had the more vibrant suit too in that scene that he
Yeah.
did in Justice League.
Yeah, so obviously I think they are going to just I think WB has said, one of the higher ups have said, Zack Snyder has done his little movie, but we're just gonna do our thing. And but I don't know why they don't like that movie. That movie's so great. But yeah, it's going to be a very, very good scene. The only thing is, I wish we got more of him in the Black Adam movie. Of course, I don't know that we don't. But it's going to be very, very exciting for sure.
Fellas, I have some strong opinions on this one, so I'm gonna sit back here for a second. I'll let you guys tackle this one first.
I mean, I'll say I'm really excited. As far as like the black suit or whatever suit he's wearing or whatever, at least from the comics, the black suit's really only to get him more energy from the sun, just because the color black just absorbs more of that energy. So even if it is, I mean, our headcanon could literally be like, oh yeah, he just switched back to his other suit because he doesn't need the extra sun rays anymore. So we could still believe that the Snyder Cut's canon. I personally always wanted that suit to have some color. Like that's my only thing with Zack Snyder. I actually really like the Snyder Cut. I liked Man of Steel, but my biggest thing is his color palette, man. I don't know if he just fears bright colors. Like I think he lays awake at night, and he just really doesn't like the rainbow.
100%.
He doesn't like Skittles. I don't know what his deal is. I just feel like he is just a real hater on color. But Superman is a beacon of hope and light, and it worked for me in Man of Steel for the most part because that's his upbringing. Like he can get a brighter suit later because he's not Superman yet.
Right.
He wasn't Superman yet. He was just the Kryptonian on Earth, and he did a lot of in the Earth's eyes and people's eyes. He did a lot of damage, so he had to win a lot of people over. And I'm excited if this is what that suit means, of him being in brighter colors, of him being that beacon of hope and the ally to Earth. And if it's any indication, Amanda Waller is the one that summons him. And for a lot of people, especially Amanda Waller, I would assume that Superman is their biggest enemy. She considered him a threat. So at this point, if she called him, he is no longer the threat. Black Adam is.
Mm-hmm. I have thoughts on that. But I digress there. Isaac.
Yeah.
Superman post-credit scene. Question.
Yes.
Does this obviously tell me what you think, but does this give you hope for DC? Future DC universe, extended universe?
Oh,
knowing
yeah,
that he's back.
Oh yeah, it definitely does. Because like this time, it's not like a shoulders down cameo or like a silhouette cameo. This time, it's like you literally see him and you hear him talk. It's kind of like I was telling Harrison earlier. It's like I was already excited for this movie. Like I was excited for Black Adam, Dr. Fate, all those other things. But it gets me even more excited now, not just for this movie, but for the future of DC, since they're kind of bringing back Henry and the rumors of Ben Affleck and just kind of bringing the people that we thought were gone, bringing them back into these movies. Yeah, I'm definitely excited for it.
You know, it's the one thing that always makes me hesitant in any show, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm watching originals right now, part of the Vampire Diaries line. Like the characters that are introduced right now are very OP. and to the point where the fight scenes just can't even be fight scenes, especially for the budget that they had. But we're literally going to get, potentially, at least we know face to face, probably the two strongest. I don't know what you guys think, but are we going to see anyone stronger than these two characters? Because I think The Rock wants to, when he leaves this earth, he wants to be known as the guy who beat Superman. He is better than Superman. That's how it comes across to me every single interview.
I think there's one person.
There's one.
No.
Oh, here it is.
Kind of can't see because of the monitors, but yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah.
They
I
did
think the
Dark
only
Side
one
dirty.
would be.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
WB just took a big eraser and just.
Oh, yeah, I mean, we can. I think we can thank Thanos for that one.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think Darkseid's the only other person that could, because like as we saw from Zack Snyder's Justice League, he pretty much solos the Justice League. So I think he's pretty much the only person.
How do we feel about the movie, though? I've read tons of reviews for this coming out, and a lot of things are much, much more positive than I expected them to be. I was expecting like a mid-tier, if we're going to say off of Rotten Tomatoes, 60s, 70s. But like, I'm hearing people say this is one of the best superhero movies ever.
But is that due to the Superman or is that due to the movie?
I personally think it is due to the movie itself.
Okay.
And specifically to Dwayne Johnson's performance.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just based on reviews.
Yeah. You can go first.
No, I was gonna say I'd be very surprised to see that it's how different it is from The Rock's normal performances, which has been pretty much copy and paste for almost his entire career. It's just what I've seen. I've seen a lot of his movies, and I enjoy it. But this is a character unlike any of the others he's played, and it's got history, and he's got to bring his A game, and I think he's aware of it. I think he's very aware of it. So hopefully, what they say is true.
I do. I did see an interview with him, and I think he let it slip. I think he said something along the lines of the Black Adam movies will be a trilogy, and if that's the case, Superman has to fail in some sort of capacity in the next movie. So, do you bring in Shazam in the third movie? Because that's happened.
They have to do lots of work to get Shazam to even be in that same level. In my opinion, Shazam has no business being in a movie right now as is, based on what we saw last. And I've seen nothing, obviously, of the new Black Adam and Superman. But what is Shazam possibly going to do?
Well, he would help Superman. And Shazam and Black Adam, I mean, they are very not alike, but they are very similar as well. So I think
he's taking him to town in the comics. Hey, we
Yeah.
just got to get Billy Batson in the movies up
Yeah.
to that level.
Yeah.
so
I mean,
go ahead.
if we're talking, like, if I'm picking a character in a video game, I have my list of 5. Like, Shazam is typically on that list of characters that I'm going to pick. But yeah, they have some work to do. I don't know, but then who knows? This is a whole new crew. This is a whole new cast. It depends on how they want to pull it off. I mean, if they give him that credibility and kind of rub shoulders with Black Adam and Shazam, it's very possible if they position him in I guess, in a higher strength tier above, say, a Wonder Woman or Aquaman. Depends on what kind of level up they give him.
I do want to say, which I wanted your guys' take on this. Obviously, DC is kind of going in a new direction with their, they're not necessarily the DCEU anymore. They're the DC universe, but they still have sequels from the DCEU coming out, and they're calling it part of the DCU. So I'm really confused what's canon to the DCU, and I'm really confused.
Well, I saw a lot of the actors, I think when they were either in Mexico, I think for the premiere, they all had character toys that were replicas of them, but on the box it said DC Multiverse. Like all the toys were
That's just a toy line. That toy line is called the DC Multiverse toy line.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
Todd
So they were just
McFarlane makes those. That's just his branding.
Yeah, actually got
Okay.
one of those.
Yes. Yeah.
I told you, man.
So no multiverse route, period.
What's that?
No
Are you
multiverse
talking
route.
about like those?
Yeah.
No, there's
Yeah.
new ones. I mean, those are the old ones.
Right.
But,
But
the multiverse.
the branding is
Yeah.
similar to that. But I know Atom
Yeah.
Smasher, that was the biggest one that I saw floating around it. But yes,
Yeah.
you're right.
he's massive. I've seen him in person. That was a massive thing.
Really?
I got my opinions on that toy line, but that's not what this is about.
I personally think that they should. I mean, how are you going to cancel Aquaman when it was your biggest movie in recent memory, maybe of all time? Right? Was Aquaman 1 their highest grossing?
Yeah.
I thought it
If
was.
not, it was close.
No, I think it is.
I thought
I'm
it
pretty
was.
sure it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, how are you going to say that doesn't exist? They're in a weird spot though. They're in a very weird spot.
And I think they need to make an official announcement of what is or is not canon. Because is Wonder Woman 84 canon? Like, we don't know the next time we're gonna see Wonder Woman. Like,
I don't think that'll be canon.
I feel like it'll be more clear after Flashpoint. Because
Yeah.
that's literally going to be a multiverse movie. So big. Okay, this is Barry's going to be back to Earth 1 or Earth Prime by the end of that movie, probably. So I'm thinking by the end of that, we'll have a general idea. So everything after that will kind of clear stuff up too. I feel like.
will they use that multiverse idea to recast Ezra Miller?
I don't think so.
It seems like to them all is forgiven somehow.
Yeah.
But Amber
Let's say
Heard
that
is gone
they're-
and Johnny Depp's gone.
Mhm.
Yeah, well, might
But
as well bring her back. I mean,
Yeah, I don't think they do reshoots with them if they weren't going to bring them back.
No, but that was another movie through testing phase. Like you heard a lot of good things about that movie as well.
Mhm.
And for right now, I almost feel like they're kind of starved for, well, clearly with all everything that they're canceling. I just think what would their movies need to feel like to kind of separate from the Zack Snyder style of cinematography and B, kind of establishing a difference from Marvel? For as much as they say that, oh, we're not competing with Marvel, let's not talk about it. And, The Rock came out and said, yeah, maybe a crossover in the future, but I'm not trying to be the next Marvel. I'm trying to be the new DC universe.
I think it's very simple. And it's something that they've been fighting with because their biggest success has been Batman. They've been trying to make everything dark and realistic and keep it as grounded as possible, which in some aspects the Marvel Universe started that way. But Marvel is super sci-fi. That is almost all science fiction. We're diving into more mystical stuff. But I think DC needs to really dig into the trenches on fantasy, high fantasy in modern day.
Yeah.
That fantasy genre is what they need to dive into, and just need to accept that these people are flying. These people are have all this mysticism and lore, and they're some of them are ancient, and need to dive deep into that.
go ahead, Isaac.
Yeah. I feel like one thing that DC is kind of missing is kind of an end goal. Kind of walking out of Avengers 1. They don't need to copy Marvel, but kind of walking out of Avengers 1 when we saw Thanos. We're like, okay, we're going to get Thanos by the end of this arc, by the end of this saga. Where it's with DC, we have all these movies, but we don't know what the end goal is. We're like, what is all of this building to? If all of these things are connected and are going to lead to something, what is it? And we don't have any general idea. Because first you thought, okay, Darkseid, but now that movie may not be a part of the universe, or be okay, maybe this character, but we don't know for sure yet.
What they could do and this is just throwing it out there, since everything's a mess right now, is they could just go to Crisis of Infinite Earths and really get like a smorgasbord of all of DC history in one go. And I mean, Flashpoint is considered a crisis event in the comics, so that's kind of going to be given there. But if they really want to mold everything back to square one as best they can after they get a couple of these other movies out, Crisis of Infinite Earths would be a great opportunity for them to do that.
Yeah.
It's interesting because the one thing that I love about DC is the words that they use to describe their events and their characters and their places. Like everything feels like high stakes. Like just simply the word crisis, you're just like, whoa, what is that? Like that is a draw on its own. And to both of your all your points, like stepping out into, like I don't think they need to play in the year 2024, 2025. Like you're saying that fantasy, like I feel like they need to advance a little bit more and almost do, I mean, this is kind of a bad way to put it, but almost make it like in Multiverse of Madness, that 838 Earth, where there's some similarities, but it's different, like separate it and different. We don't need that grounded, that rooted feel. I think that'll be definitely a great way to separate things and kind of justify the characters. Because the biggest thing that I struggle with in the cinematic universe for DC is powers. That is my hardest thing, is like, am I going to watch this from 10 years and be like, wow, that didn't age well at all? Like those visual effects are bad. Those are bad, but the whole movie is a visual effect. It's nothing but CGI and just whatever. But some of those characters, besides a Bat family, who are future characters that you guys would want to see? They're like, okay, well, this makes sense. This will kind of push them and elevate them. If we even do get, the Crisis storyline or anything like that.
You're talking about bad guys or like new heroes or
anything. I mean, even from a villain standpoint, right? There's that end goal, and we did get Darkseid and we got Steppenwolf, but I mean, outside of that, I mean, is the Riddler really going to do much? We've seen the Joker how many times now?
You know where they could really set themselves apart? Because one of the biggest things that they obviously have over Marvel is, and I mean, I love Marvel. I always, my whole life, I've put Marvel over DC. Like that's just how I am. I still love DC, but DC has the better ensemble of villains throughout all of their characters and throughout the entire universe. Like I love my Marvel villains, but DC's got it there. They need to do a Legion of Doom versus Justice League. They were slightly teasing that with Deathstroke and Lex Luthor at the end of I don't remember what movie anymore. Justice League.
Was that Batman vs Superman, or was it Justice League?
Yeah, it was Justice League.
Yeah, it was Justice League. So I still want to see that Deathstroke. I thought he looked incredible. I still want to see Ben Affleck versus that Deathstroke, but who knows? I think the Legion of Doom is where they could really separate themselves, because Marvel is killing off all their villains. There's hardly anyone still sticking around.
Yeah.
And I mean, you could argue that that's just them settling business so that they don't have to have reoccurring villains, but I don't know. That's just DC's biggest strong point, and I feel like that's where they need to dig into the trenches with.
I really want to see a Green Lantern, not Ryan Reynolds. Well, I mean, actually, let me rephrase. I would like to see Ryan Reynolds get back for maybe. I don't know if I want to say that, because I would like a new movie to kind of maybe redeem himself of that previous Green Lantern. But I would love to see a Green Lantern of the Green Lantern we were supposed to get in Zack Snyder's Justice League. So I think John Stewart, I think that's the Green Lantern's name.
Yeah, I want John Stewart more than the others personally.
Yeah. Yeah, for me, it's easy. It's him, and I know I mentioned this a couple weeks ago. I want to see Martian Manhunter in the worst way. I love that character. I think it's an easy way for them to explain the DC universe, to explain the lore around a lot of these off-Earth characters, and just kind of to see things like through his eyes. I think would be very, very cool. Almost, I'm not saying like a first-person kind of thing, but like I think they could do something really cool with him.
They had a good actor for him too.
Mm-hmm.
I like that choice. Great voice.
Mm-hmm.
The CGI needs a little work, in my opinion, for when he showed up at the end of the Snyder Cut.
Yeah.
But that was just a cameo, whatever. But it was still cool.
The funny thing is, we were talking about this the other night. I noticed that Carl Lumley, who's playing in Falcon, he played in Falcon Winter Soldier, Isaiah Bradley. He's the one that voiced the animated Martian Manhunter before. And I did not know that. And I think he was in Justice League Unlimited, the animated one. But the voice for the character, yeah, on par all day. Besides Darkseid, Isaac, who do you got?
Is it funny enough? I haven't watched Krypton yet, but it's actually two people I'd like to see. Would either be Brainiac or Lobo.
If Elias was on, I guarantee you he would say Lobo. Guarantee you he would say Lobo.
Yeah. Like Brainiac would be a cool one to like build up to have everybody fight, or like Lobo would be cool, like to throw like in a Superman solo movie or something.
Yes. Yeah. Do you think they need those? Like even looking at Batman versus Superman, would you have preferred like a Doomsday? Even I mean, we got Zod, but
like a true Doomsday.
Yeah. Like, do other characters need to be in? Is that like a pull in like one or two, or is that we need the whole Justice League team? Or what does a future Superman movie look like in this new DC?
Non-existent.
Fair.
It's not going to happen.
Let's have hope, man. That's what the S means.
Exactly.
I mean, you're right. Who knows what their plan is, or if there even is a plan? It seems like they're struggling, but I mean, The Rock has a lot of passion. He seems to want to steer them in the right direction. They have new leadership, and they let him. Mm-hmm. He was saying in an interview that for 6 years he was asking for Superman, Henry Cavill specifically. And they said no. And he said, that leadership is now gone. We have new leadership. They said yes. And now it's happening. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like despite me having some issues with the Man of Steel movie and, his appearances throughout the universe that we've had so far, he, to me, is a damn near perfect Superman, if not perfect.
100%.
And I'm sure that resonates with a lot of people. You just feel this warmth when you see him, especially when he finally smiles, when he's allowed to smile.
Yeah.
I think he's great. You just gotta let him be great.
Yeah. That is kind of the thing, is just letting these characters and like the perfect actors who have been casted. Like, to be honest with you, could I envision anyone else as Black Adam? No, I kind of think Black Adam and The Rock are the same person now. When I look in the comics, like when I look at the Funkos and there's like, oh, I have a Black Adam pop, I'm like, that's not The Rock. I was like, this guy is the pointiest ears I've ever seen in my life, and that Rocco is not doing that. But it is almost like that creative freedom with these actors and characters, like letting them fully immerse themselves. I'm not talking some like, what do they call that acting thing where you're the character like 24/7 while you're in the role.
Oh yeah.
I forget the term, but Mr. Morbius himself is walking around to this day. Mr. Jared Leto, what is it called?
Yeah, like staying in character.
Yeah, the name just escaped me.
Yeah,
I can't think of it either.
But that
method acting.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, I almost feel The Rock is doing that. Like, I wholeheartedly believe when he speaks, he thinks he is the greatest person to ever be in a superhero movie and to put a costume on. I wouldn't be surprised if he wakes up and when he does like his 3 a.m. workouts and he puts it on and he's like, I'm ready. And then just goes like, but you get that feel from these characters. I feel Aquaman Jason Momoa is Aquaman. Gal Gadot is Wonder Woman. Batman's up for debate, but like all of these characters, when I see
stand
them,
by Batfleck. I stand with him.
I thought he was dope. I thought he was very, very
Oh, yeah.
good. Very good. In the warehouse scene,
Sure.
yes.
Yeah.
Dude, but as
Well,
a
I
Bruce,
guess that.
okay.
Yeah.
The best Bruce Wayne, go.
I think it's Christian Bale.
Yeah, but Bruce Wayne, I'd have to go either Christian Bale or Ben Affleck. But I feel like in order for me to choose Ben Affleck, we have to get more of him. But from what we've gotten of him, I love him.
That is the point. I'd say it's Christian Bale as well. But let me say this: is there's for all the other Batmen, there's always this debate of who's the better Bruce Wayne, who's the better Batman. I think Ben Affleck kills it in both.
Both.
He is the first one that he is good as both, and we need way more of it. And I don't understand the hate for him. I think maybe it has something to do with his resume, with what other movies he's in. I haven't seen enough of his other movies, so I'm not corrupted. So I think he looks perfect. He's got the look. The suit was amazing. His action was amazing, and he just needs a better script.
I will forever love the moment when he said that moment of when he said, even if there's a 1% chance, and I believed him, and I was like, do it, whatever you have to do it. And I was like, wait, no. I love Henry Cavill. I was like, I don't know who I want to win in this one, but I loved him as both. And the voice changes with him in as Batman.
Oh my God, I love it.
Dude, one of the coolest things. But to that point, like right there, like we do not have a DC universe currently. It is in shambles. Yet we are sitting here talking about actors and characters who I'm sitting over here just getting sweaty thinking about moments and scenes from these people. And there's really not much to show. Like the sky is the limit for DC. And with Marvel fans potentially being like, this isn't my Marvel anymore. Let me jump ship. I'm just saying, AEW, WWE situation. If you guys know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Something's cooking here potentially. Something is cooking.
The Rock is cooking.
Exactly. Bam. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that one.
You're welcome. Anytime.
Black Adam predictions. I assume everyone here will see it at some point in the near future.
This Friday.
Yeah, I'm either going Thursday night or Friday morning. I don't know yet.
It might be Saturday for me. It depends. It really just depends on what transpires, because I have to go to a wedding on Friday.
Oh.
And
well, congratulations, whoever it is.
Oh yeah, good friend of mine.
Okay.
Has been anticipating it for a while, but that wedding will happen, and then who knows what will happen the next day. But then I got work afterwards, so hopefully it doesn't get lost in the shuffle for me, and I get to see it. But if not, I'm excited for it, and I think it'll be good. But at the same time, like DC's and the Warner Brothers situation, I'm still so shaky. I got trust issues with this company, and with everything. Like, I could love aspects of it and just despise some of the other choices, because it should be more than what they're allowed to give, what they're trying to give us, what they're allowing us to have. So I hope that they reach for the sky, and I hope they're listening to The Rock, because I swear he is in tune with this stuff. And there's a lot of people that don't really like his situation being in the role, just because he's not of the same ethnicity or race as the original comic character. Which is, he's been working on this movie since before that was like a real big issue in the media landscape. So he was casted, and that was already all said and done way before we all started worrying about that. So it's kind of like the last remnants of, like, you want to call it whitewashing, but you're just race swapping or whatever for the character. I personally am not that offended by it, or I'm not offended by it really at all. But I get why some people would be upset. So hopefully he nails it enough to the point where they're like, all right, he's good. Like, this works.
Yeah. No, I think to that point too. I feel like he's really making the character his own. And for me, I'll always stand on this side of if I'd rather see the attempt at Black Adam regardless than not see the character adapted at all. But from what he's saying, like I have all faith in the world that people moving forward, kids, whoever sees this movie, this is who they're going to remember as Black Adam. And right now, if you were to ask a lot of people who's Black Adam, they'd be like, I have no idea who you're talking about whatsoever.
No,
So
he's definitely going to put it on the map for better or
Yes.
worse.
Yes. And I think right now, from a DC standpoint, any publicity is good publicity. Any talk is good talk, just to keep them in front of mind and keep their properties in people's mouths. I think that's a good thing until they really figure it out and start getting towards that stride, which is still a ways away. But I think that Fabian, you nailed it. This movie will either build trust or completely break, in my opinion, the trust of the fans who are still here.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those like get your hopes up kind of movie.
Yeah.
And I think it's good that they brought in the post-credit scene just to kind of like keep that tether for everyone and be like, okay, we're working on it. We did this. But again, I think Black Adam needs to be the center for now through that trilogy, however long that is. If that's, of course, maybe 10 years, maybe not. I don't know how long he'd want to do this. I'm sure he'll stay juiced up until that point. But I'm thinking this movie, I will walk away from this movie pleasantly surprised. But the best way that I can kind of put it on the map of recent movies is I'll probably feel better than a Thor, Love and Thunder kind of way, but maybe not as blown away as like how I assume I'll be with like Wakanda Forever. I speak in Marvel terms. I'm sorry, DC fans. I speak in Marvel right now.
It won't be a Morbius. Let's throw that out there.
I think we all can agree on that. It won't be Morbius. Just the Superman cameo alone, it won't be a Morbius.
No.
Oh no, man! You didn't like that really complicated Vulture cameo at the end.
It made no sense. No, I okay. Last question. Do you guys see this being better than Man of Steel, or coming out of it feeling it is not as good as Man of Steel? I'm throwing a random comparison out there. I know there really doesn't make sense on a lot of levels. But intro to intro.
Ask me after.
No, I don't think it's going to be better than Man of Steel. I think if anything to compare it to, since there is a superhero team in it, and we're going from the footage I have seen, they're going to get a lot of footage from them and their dynamics and their portrayals of them. It's safer to compare it to Justice League.
Ooh, I was going to say Suicide Squad.
Oh, Suicide Squad's another one because they're all going to die. But no, they're definitely not dying. But if Dr. Fate dies, I will rise because that is a perfect casting.
Yeah,
he looks fantastic. The other ones, there's a Hawk Girl. That will be fun.
And we know if Aquaman dies, he's coming back.
I have pretty high expectations for him. The trailers have me sold on him, and then when I got his Funko, I was like, "What is this? Like, this looks insane." I have some high, but I don't know. That might be too high of expectations for a character.
Our last video, we talked about Marvel kind of putting out all these trailers and stuff to kind of maybe hypothetically speaking, take eyes away from the Black Adam movie. And I feel that, even if, people don't necessarily, go see this movie till it comes out, it's like, oh yeah, see what we got. We are bringing back Superman. That's their comeback. They're bringing back their one of their golden gooses. And I think that's a really good comeback. So yeah, but I don't think it's really hard to say if this will be good or bad. I'm I don't know. I think it'll be good. With a
Like,
Superman cameo, it'll be great.
as long as the characters are likable, they're likable and they can stick around. For me, that'll be a win. That's really the only thing for me is like, am I going to enjoy what I watched? If I enjoy it, that's a win. I don't have anything. There's nothing else coming down the pipeline. Did I waste my time or not? And if I didn't waste my time, then I'll check it off the box and be like, yeah, it was good. Like I enjoyed it. I'm not saying it was going to be a great movie, but it was a good movie. I didn't
I
want to
think it's a
leave.
very low chance that it'll be a bad movie.
Right.
Like that for it to be bad, we have to have like Jared Leto would have to come back. I'm sorry.
I'm sure he's trying.
If any of you like Jared Leto, but his fascination with like getting involved in this stuff is perplexing to me.
Listen, get me Will Smith back in. No,
I liked Will Smith. I thought he
too.
was a good casting there. Granted, he was Will Smith. He was Will Smith doing Will Smith things, but I thought it worked.
I feel like it
Deadshot.
worked for. Yep, exactly what you said. I feel like it worked for Deadshot.
let them be who they are. They all kind of are. They all bring who they are to the table, and I think to that point we originally had, like, find a good comic character that you can put on top of these kind of well-known actors and actresses. Mine is Jared Leto.
My biggest compliment to the DC universe, minus Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor and Jared Leto as the Joker, is all the casting, they nailed it. I feel like all the casting, for the most part, they nailed it, and that is one of the biggest, most important aspects of it. I for the most part, all these people standing together, that Ben Affleck Batman belongs with those guys.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you could recast Batman, but that's the one that I see hanging out with these guys and interacting with them.
Yeah,
that's a good point. If minus Flash, if you could see anyone next in a movie, regardless of what's supposed to come out or what's not, like, who's the most anticipated character for you guys? There's a point to this.
In a significant role, I want to see Batfleck. And I'm not talking like he just shows up in a Rev's Deadshot. I want to see him like talking and interacting and busting caps and people. Just handling business, doing Batman things. And my only real issue with Ben Affleck's version is that he was kind of like on the cusp of retirement. Yeah. And it was just a weird starting point.
I agree.
But other than that, like, I mean, the cusp of retirement, he was really like handling people in that warehouse.
Yeah, he was.
Well, he's still Batman. I mean,
as long as if Batman is one of those characters, like, if he is present and in the area, you are always at risk. Always at risk. Yeah. I'm gonna throw mine out there, and I'm gonna say Wonder Woman. I need a redemption after 84, but I think it is, and I don't want to be insensitive to this, but I think they had a real opportunity, and we touched on this before, they had a real opportunity to kind of put a big female lead and let her lead. When she showed up in Batman vs. Superman, I was like, whoa. But then it kind of was negated a little bit by Doomsday. It was just like, oh, okay, well, no one's really doing much here. But I think they have a real opportunity to kind of expand that female side of DC and start with her and establish it, versus almost feeling like it's like piggybacking off of Marvel's all into female characters. I think that she needs to show up sooner rather than later. I don't know if there's a plan for her, but
I know she gathered this in 84, and I don't know if it's going to be canon anymore, but she needs to be flying. I need her being like the way that she was in the Justice League cartoon, because she commanded respect, and she was pretty much up there neck and neck with Superman.
Yeah,
that's where I want Wonder Woman, where she's just like Yeah, oh, here's another one I should worry about completely. What about you guys? Who are you guys looking forward to?
Cyborg.
Yes.
Teen Titans Cyborg or Justice
Ray
League version?
Ray Fisher. Of course, I wouldn't mind if WWE in the future, did a whole new thing of Teen Titans, not the TV show version on the CW. If they did a whole new thing and Ray Fisher's Cyborg was in that, I would love that.
Wait, did you say WWE?
No, CW.
No, initially instead of WB, Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
But I might have misheard you.
Yeah, I said WB.
Oh, okay. I thought you said WWE. I'm like, oh, okay, we're gonna cast Big E as Cyborg. All right.
I would go see that. No, but if they made a Teen Titans and Ray Fisher Cyborg was in that, I would be game for that.
Who would be Robin?
I would love if the CW's Teen Titans Robin. I love that Robin. Thanks, man. You guys suck.
I had to throw it out there, you know. Isaac, who do you got?
I'd say obviously my obvious answer would be Batman, but by Batman bias aside, I'd probably say Blue Beetle. He's actually one I'm kind of looking forward to.
Is that movie still safe?
Yeah, I think
I don't
it was
know.
canceled, right? Or no, not yet.
Update its Facebook status. Mark safe
Not
from
yet,
WWE translations.
I think it's still safe for now.
Yeah, I know it keeps flipping back and forth between HBO and the big screen, but other than that,
Why wouldn't you
I'm pretty
release
sure.
it though? I mean, unless you're really looking at numbers, I feel like at this point, like,
Especially with how costume looks, that costume couldn't have been cheap.
yeah,
I wouldn't even be opposed to the things that aren't canon to WB's story. The what isn't canon to their new storyline, just release it to HBO Max. But what is canon, released to the theater.
Yeah, that helped clear it up a little bit. I feel like.
I'm a sucker for like cohesive stuff though. I don't care if you just call it the multiverse, throw it out there, and then let me just wonder.
I would be down if they just sucked it up and realized that there are fans that want to see the Zack Snyder story continue, and just did it on HBO Max.
Yeah,
where's the loss there? You get new subscribers. Like, you're already in a mess. Might as well build on the mess.
Make it a different Earth.
Exactly.
Would you be okay if it was animated?
Me, I'm an animation person, but in this case, I really want to see Zack Snyder's like whole story, for better or worse. I might end up hating it. I just want to know. I want the right to hate it.
Yeah.
Hate it or love it.
But don't you think that would be a little confusing for fans? Because if they're seeing The Rock go toe-to-toe with Henry Cavill, their characters, but yet they're seeing the same characters, or Superman, go toe-to-toe with Darkseid. I mean...
It's already confusing.
Go ahead. What?
I was just saying, it's already confusing.
True.
The Flashpoint ain't going to make it any easier.
True.
It would be wild if they did from like a perspective of like Flash. Like, let's say he was just running and he's like, I went to this place and this, I'm going to tell you what happened. Or, I mean, I always bring him up like a Martian Manhunter where he's like, this is what could have happened. I'd be fine if they even said like, this isn't real, but let me tell you a story, and then bam.
A what if?
Yeah, almost, essentially.
A what if? Yeah. This is where I came from. Like, that would be perfect. It would still fit in the universe, and you would just say, this is what could have happened if you hadn't done this.
Yeah. I'd be down for that. I would be
or raise the
down.
stakes and show us what does happen with the Snyder thing, and then at the end of the Snyder thing, it's just him talking to someone saying, "This is what we need to prevent,"
Mm.
and then that's the story going
Even,
forward.
even if they do it from a nightmare scenario, I would be like a true nightmare where there is a character, even if it's Superman, where this guy's just rolling back and forth with night sweats, and like it's just like dipping in and out of this is the picture. Like that was a storyline I was very interested to see. Very interested. But yeah, I like that potential what if scenario kind of thing. That'd be cool.
What
I don't know.
One quick question:
Mm-hmm.
in all this multiverse of madness, would we see Robert Pattinson, jump into this mess of a DC universe for at least like a scene or an addition in any way?
And get
Mm.
crushed
Would you
instantly.
guys? Yeah, they would get crushed. But would you guys like to see it? Would you guys be for it, or you want to completely put him to the side?
I wouldn't be for it.
Yeah.
Not at all.
I feel like we'd only get him if it was like a crisis scenario, just because of how much Matt Reeves is like doubling down, saying, "Oh no, this is its own universe. We don't want this to eventually connect to anything." I feel like it'd be more to be like a crisis type of thing where we see him.
I mean, for me, I think if you're going to bring Michael Keaton and you do bring Ben Affleck, and it depends on how long he wants to stay, like that is almost kind of a generational kind of thing that could happen to have all of them in the same place at the same time. And you kind of
No Way Home
pull,
kind of thing.
yeah, essentially like you play into, Robert Pattinson to me felt more of like the detective bat more than any other bat that we've really gotten. Like he kind of went all in on that.
Oh yeah.
But you have him, and then you kind of have that warrior bat with Ben Affleck, and then even if you can bring Christian Bale back, like you got the tech bat, and then Michael Keaton, you just kind of have like I kind of know what I'm doing, old school kind of thing. I don't know, like I would be for it. However, it would have to be all bats, not just him.
I think it'd be really cool if they had. I know, but it'd be cool to see Michael Keaton back in his suit. But it would have been even cooler if he was just old man Wayne and he got Terry McGinnis right there, and that's the Batman that gets to meet Ben Affleck or Robert Pattinson, whoever. But I would kill to see Batman Beyond in live action, especially with Michael Keaton being the old man. A while back, I theorized they need to bring Tim Burton back, or wishful thinking, I'll say, Tim Burton back for his third movie that never happened, and Michael Keaton is Old Man Bat, and they get a Terry McGinnis, and there he can finally have his trilogy. Because I know the Schumacher movies were supposed to continue that, but that's another mess. We've been in a mess in DC for a long time. The only thing that kept that universe together was Alfred the Butler, same actor.
True, man. That's actually they would have to be up and running. That would have to be like they've pumped out 20-30 movies over the course of 2 decades.
That's
for
fine.
that.
Michael Keaton's only going to get a little bit older and a little bit more ready for the role.
That would be awesome, though. I would be all for that. And I would be all for Bat Family. I don't know, man. I think for me personally, I'm kind of craving some DC. Do I want too much content? I'm sorry. I would love to have every week to bounce back and forth between Marvel and DC and just be like, my mind is blown every single week. And I'm like, who's better? I'd love to talk about this on a live stream of like, they are both pedal to the metal, full steam ahead.
I mean, I'm winning regardless. Like,
yeah.
I never thought I'd live to see all this.
True story.
I know they're in a mess, but like, I never thought we'd get like stuff like She-Hulk show. I never thought that would happen.
Nope.
And Werewolf by Night. That we've gotten so far. Black Adam. I never thought that character would get a solo movie.
True. This is a win, but I would love to see kind of how deep the rabbit hole goes That's why I want them to push the envelope. Like, I don't care if we get a She-Hulk. Like, try whatever it is, because
Mhm.
Phase 1 in itself for Marvel was ridiculous, and the Snyder Cut to me was fantastic. I loved it. This whole little Snyderverse, and I don't know. I want them to push each other, though. I know it's not a competition, but I'm sorry. When I walk down the toy aisle and I look left and I look right, I'm choosing one. I'm comparing. So that's just me. And
I'm gonna tell
maybe
you
it's-
right now, the Marvel Legends are better than the DC multiverse figures.
I will take your opinion on that one 100% to heart. I agree. I'm talking as a wee little guy. When I was like, could I get the Batman Beyond character that has a lightning cape, or do I get another Spider-Man? Interesting. I don't know. But do you guys have anything else before we wrap up? We have 5 minutes left.
I do want to say one thing. If WB takes anything from this whole situation with The Rock, because I don't think this. Did I say it again?
No.
No.
Say it through, you guys. But if they don't take anything away from this whole partnership with The Rock, it's hopefully they take away with listen to your fans. We have been advocating for this Superman, Henry Cavill Superman, for a very long time, and they've ignored it. They've, hey, we're going to do what we want and you're going to like it. But if they learn anything from this partnership, hopefully that's a takeaway. So
I think that's perfect. But on the flip side, within reason, I don't need too much as a fan. This Superman cameo is enough for me to be like, there's hope. But giving me coming out and announcing like, oh, hey, here's a Superman trilogy. We're gonna give 3 movies, and I'm just like,
would you say no to that?
I wouldn't say no, but from a WB standpoint, if Warner Brothers and crew come out and say we're gonna give you 3 Superman movies, I'm gonna be like, yeah, right. Give me one first before you even talk about a second one. That's where I'm at right now. Like, ease me into it, build out a little bit of the future, but listen to the fans. But I think for me, from my perspective of being a fan, give me a setup, give me an end goal, give me something that you're saying, hey, we're going to kind of just build this story for, call it a decade, call it 5 years, whatever it might be.
Well, that 10-year plan.
Yeah, I mean, if they go through the 10-year plan, great. But as of right now, I don't know if they can make it through 10 years.
Fair.
Truthfully.
So what if they do it in a way where everyone's kind of off doing their own thing? Like, all these things are just kind of separate, and they exist in the same universe. Anyone can really show up at any time, but their movies are just their movies. Like, you're not looking to have Superman call up Bruce or Green Lantern whenever things get a little bit too hard. And they're all just kind of their own self-contained stories. I know Marvel had that for a little bit, but as things went on, it felt like more like you can drag in whoever you want now. What if they stuck to that, where they didn't have like this cameo smorgasbord constantly?
For me, that would show me that we're trying to build a strong foundation. We're not trying to just sell tickets and get butts and seats and be like, oh, look, Wonder Woman and Superman teamed up to face Brainiac. Great. And I'm just like, okay, well, is this villain going to last one movie? Because I don't want to see him for one movie. But at the same time, why do I want to see Wonder Woman and Superman team up right now? Like, I have no foundation. And even with Black Adam, like, you're getting multiple characters. Like, yes, this is Black Adam's movie, but who else is going to share the spotlight with him? Probably not too many. Would I want to see a Hawkman solo film? Maybe. I might. But they can build it off of this.
I definitely want to see Dr. Fate.
Yeah, like a Dr. Fate movie would be insane. Absolutely insane. I think that it goes back to that villain piece. Connect the villains. if you have Solomon Grundy going from Batman to then somehow jumping in with the Flash to maybe Superman or something like that, like I think they should take the villain route of crossover, where you have a villain who's like, how did you end up here? And there's a Lex Luthor who is like, I pulled him in, I pulled him in, I pulled him in, or something like that, instead of just being like, oh, Bruce, someone's here.
Yeah. Whereas if you connect the villains, then that forces the heroes to come connect together to take down those villains.
I want to hear someone say to the other hero, one of yours. Like,
Yeah.
Like saying, like, you know, they all know that they have their own little ensemble of villains that only mess around in their neighborhoods. And somehow they're just chilling together, and somehow when a Superman shows up or something. That goes back to like the old Batman and Superman cartoons.
Build the Legion of Doom first. Instead of building to a Justice League movie, build to a Legion of Doom movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Money. Cut the check.
That for me would be, you could do a 2-part or a trilogy on that, and you get a ragtag group who shows up. Like, imagine the Legion of Doom showing up and they smack.
Hold on. You don't want to give WB too much, man.
I know.
Get your money.
They might be. Let's not say too much, but
They'd be like, oh, they want this. Let's cancel Man of Steel 2 now to give them this.
But do enough fans to that point though, and back to what Harry was saying. Are enough fans clamoring for villains, or do they want the heroes? Because if they want the heroes, we're going to keep getting the heroes.
I think WB's safe place is Batman and Superman, because those are their two big money draws. It always has been, especially Batman.
But what about the Batman? Because that didn't do as well.
Well, yeah, but that was a little bit different.
Okay.
That wasn't your typical. I mean, Bruce Wayne wasn't the Bruce Wayne. He was this more of a young adult. He wasn't this charming, more of a. He wasn't this confident Bruce Wayne that we know and love. And he was a new Batman. He wasn't this, cowl in the night. He wasn't that Batman. But now WB is being asked by a 6'5" buff guy to go into uncharted waters because they've not been there before. But now they've got from what he says, they've got a new leadership team. They've got a head of creative who's going to make the 10-year plan from what it sounds like. So, I mean, hey, like someone said, I think it was Fabian, I got trust issues with WB. So if they can be consistent with this for, 3-4 years, that trust will be able to go away. I mean, if they fork out, 2 or 3 movies a year, I'll be happy with that.
To add to the trust issues, if you think about it, they've had the rights to all these characters for decades, and every time that things have gotten rough, they tuck their tail between their legs and run back. Green Lantern, that was supposed to be a start of a universe, if I remember. Brandon Routh, the Superman Returns movie, even though that was supposed to be a continuation of Christopher Reeves, he was supposed to meet Christian Bale at some point. Christopher Reeves was supposed to meet Michael Keaton at some point. They had plans for these things, and they never followed through with them because they didn't think it would make them money.
Which is wild to think about. Like, I would love to sit in that room and for them to, like, when they're about to pull the plug on something, they're like, no, let's not do it.
What?
Yeah, and I'd be like, please, like, I feel like I'd be in a glass box just banging on it and no one can hear me, and I'm like, no.
Meanwhile, Marvel's over there making D-list characters, F-list characters, A-tier. I never thought we'd see the Guardians of the Galaxy. I didn't know who those people were. I've loved Marvel for years. I barely knew anything about those characters. And then you just keep digging and digging and digging. and you're gonna make something fresh out of nothing.
To what I've always felt about the DC universe. Too much, too soon. They had no bullets left in the chamber. They gave it all to us right away, very quickly. And for anyone who would come after that team, I would have no faith. The power scale would just be too ridiculous. Wait, like why would a Lex Luthor, that Jesse Eisenberg Lex Luthor, really pose a threat if you take away the kryptonite? Like I never took him seriously. I really never took him
He
seriously.
needed the suit. Something.
Yeah.
But can we all agree he, as far as his acting chops, he played a phenomenal Lex Luthor.
Only because of the soundtrack.
What?
The score made him.
He was
The
a
score's-
very bizarre choice for that role.
Listen, the music that they played whenever he was on scene made it to where I heard that I was like, oh, okay, Lex Luthor. But then I look at the screen, I'm like, oh, Lex Luthor. I'm like, oh,
I'm never gonna forget that Jolly Rancher scene where he feeds a grown man a Jolly Rancher. Like, what
It's
purpose?
cherry flavor.
I just, what did that need to be there for? 3-hour movie on the Ultimate Cut, and it's still in there. Like, what? There are other ways to belittle someone.
true. He was, yeah. Would he be my first choice? No. I actually like I like the Smallville guy better.
Hell
What's
yeah.
his name?
Oh,
Rosenbaum, something.
yeah, Michael Rosenbaum.
Yeah. Sorry, Harry.
All right, I don't like Will Smith. You don't like.
That's fair. That's fair. But all good things must come to an end. Any closing thoughts? Isaac, do you have anything else? It's your first live stream with us.
I had a ton of fun and I absolutely loved it.
Oh,
Uh,
that's what we love to hear, man. Appreciate having you on. Hopefully
thank
see you
for
next
having
Sunday.
me. Oh yeah, I'd definitely be down.
Perfect.
Mhm.
Well, guys, and everyone watching and listening, thank you for supporting and joining. I saw some people popping in, some questions came up. We will see you next Sunday for the Forging Theories live stream. Check us out. I will have it up, posted to TikTok, description, link. It's all going to be there. We will see you next Sunday. Have a great day or night whenever you're listening to this. We appreciate you.